I never knew that there was a museum or anything to do at the West End because nobody ever took me back there, except in my mind. And every time I would say to somebody, is there still a North Anderson Street? Nobody knew what I was talking about.
Well,
until I saw your article.
And then you thought, oh my gosh, there are a lot of people around who remember the West End. What did it make you feel like to talk to Lucille about it?
Oh, it was just like she was bringing me back there again, because she lived there longer than I did. All the people there were just like us. They were all working people.
You say you're 96.
I'm 96.
Your sister's 93, and who else is there?
I have two brothers. One is 88, the other is 90. And he was my baby brother. And I talk to my brothers, my sister, every day.
So tell me about the West End.
What I remember, I even remember we lived at 24 North Anderson Street. And I remember, don't remember the apartment or anything, but I do remember that when I looked out the window, I had to be about maybe 10 years old. And at the end of the street was the hospital, and I think that was the Mass General. And then someone told me there was a building there, that was the morgue, where dead people came. It didn't mean anything to me at that time. But I remember my grandmother and grandfather lived in the North End, and we walked from the West End to the North End. They lived on Salem Street, 89 Salem Street. My grandfather was a janitor in a bank on Hanover Street. And I remember him taking me one day, do you want to go on the elevator? So there was an elevator in the building that had a wooden floor and ropes that you pulled ropes so you could go up on that elevator. I remember a rag man coming around with a horse and team. Rags, and he rags. I remember that. And I remember going down what we would call now maybe the Esplanade. We used to go, there was a jail there, Charles Street Jail. My grandmother was one of the women who helped donate money to build the Vilna Shul. Also, she came from Vilna, I think Lithuania or Poland. I remember going to her house, my grandmother and grandfather lived, and they had a little tin blue box up in the wall. And we used to ask, she'd give us coins, and we thought that was wonderful. My sister was younger, but then my grandmother would say to me, you put that money in that box, that goes to build the shul for the hospital. So I was very young in the West End, but I remember that so well. I remember going to Scollay Square, the movies, with my grandmother. And she would buy, maybe it was popcorn or peanuts, but the two of us would sit side by side. Scollay Square, I remember the old Howard. There were a lot of sailors there. And choreo, burlesque shows. It's so plain to me to remember. I see it in my mind. I actually see the street